Well, it's good to be back with you again as we've been talking together for the last 3 months about transformational churches. And transformational churches are churches where people together are becoming more like Jesus, and empowered by the Holy Spirit, they're extending the influence of Jesus' redemptive work in the lives of individuals and families and communities among all people. As we think about that over the last couple months, we've talked about the influence that local churches can have in the lives of individuals and communities. And today I'm thrilled to have Pastor Quentin Steve from Valley Church in West Des Moines, Iowa, to talk about the impact and the influence that a transformational church can have in the lives of families and friendships. It's the gospel changing individuals. And then those individuals, obviously, they have connections with friends and families and the relationship that they can have. Quentin, welcome. It's great to be able to have you with me today to talk about this, because you and I have talked a lot about the impact Valley Church has been having in your community there in West Des Moines for years. First, how would you describe Valley Church's heart for the people in your community?
I have been privileged to be the church planting pastor here at Valley Church for been here for 30 years. And we started in a school, and we were connected to the community from literally day one. And so it's always been our heart to love our community. And one of our 4 core values that kind of, along with our statement of faith, that really identify what our church stands for is one of those 4 core values is we love our community. And that's just threaded through everything that we do at Valley Church. And it's been really important to us for 30 years.
Wow. No, I mean, that's encouraging for me to hear that that's been a part of the DNA of Valley Church from the very beginning. Well, what are the kinds of things that you do to keep fostering that? To foster that heart and to keep it growing, especially as the church has grown a lot over the last several years?
Yeah, it's a great question. Kevin, one of the things I think that we've tried to do over the years is to emphasize that growing insiders, believers, and reaching outsiders, unbelievers, are equally important. There's a great author and friend, Kevin Harney. He talks about how oftentimes in the Evangelical church, we look as kind of evangelism and discipleship as kind of competing or maybe even enemies of each other. The thing he likes to say, and I love it, he says, they're not enemies. They're not even friends. They're married to each other. They're in a partnership that you can't have one without the other. And so we've tried to just foster that idea that both of these are equally important, and then align what we do as a church in our teaching, in our preaching, in our ministries, in everything that we do, with that idea that when Jesus came, he came to seek and to save those who are lost, and he came to transform us to be like in his likeness. And so both of those are incredibly important, and they're connected to one another. You cannot separate them. And in fact, part of our discipleship journey is helping connect to our community, loving our neighbors, the second greatest commandment, and but also sharing the good news of Jesus. And if I'm not doing that, then I'm not really growing as a disciple. We just try to encourage people in that way.
Well, that's encouraging to hear that, because that connection between evangelism and discipleship or disciple making is huge, to be able to see that continued lived out in a church. Now, as you look at Valley Church, what are some of the ways people from the congregation have invested in the lives of families in your communities? Maybe there's a specific ministry or a story that you might want to share with us about the way that the redemptive work of Jesus has really touched the lives of individual families there in your community.
Loving our neighbors is extremely important in the life of our church. It's emphasized virtually every day in some way. And so this idea of connecting to your family with another family is just natural to what we do. Now, a lot of that is quite organic. It's not something that we program. It's just, hey, we give people regularly lists of ways that you can love your neighbors. We would include that in our Sunday gatherings or in our weekend gatherings. And COVID, of course, has made that different. But we would constantly be feeding people ideas of just simple ways, giving a gift basket, getting to know the neighbors around you, hosting block parties, mini block parties. These are things we've had hundreds and hundreds of these over the last 3 to 5 years, and it's really helped people connect. So that's quite organic, and there's great stories that come out of that. People that are just shocked because they say, "Why are you doing this?" Well, our church kind of encourages us to love our neighbors, so we want to love our neighbors, and and then and then there's more strategic sort of planned ways of loving our neighbors. One thing that we've done is we have neighbors to the church. There's an apartment complex nearby that we've reached out to. It's a very diverse apartment complex, people from many different nations who have immigrated to the United States. And we've really befriended them. And we've taken a lot of steps to befriend those neighbors to the church over the last 5 years. And from many different religious backgrounds as well. We have Muslims, Hindus. The crazy thing is we've seen them come to faith in Jesus. We've seen them come to attend the life of our church. So one of our goals is we say we've really loved families and loved our neighbors well, and we've really reached them when they get vitally connected to the body of Christ, of which Jesus is the head.
Well, now, as a pastor, that has to make you, what an encouragement that is for you when you see people in your church, both organically and then intentionally, as you think about the neighbors around the church, reaching out to families and people in their neighborhoods to be able to make those connections. That's got to encourage you significantly.
Oh, it absolutely thrills me. And the fun thing is that, I think, Kevin, we've made it too complicated sometimes. And in just reaching families, the things that you enjoy doing as a family, probably there's other people around you that would enjoy that too. Why not just include them? And, for the last several years, a little different this summer, for the last several years, we've had an event, and we're in Des Moines, Iowa. So we call this initiative Love You Des Moines, which we've been doing for 10 years now or more. But we specifically launched this thing called Love You Des Moines Days, which is just 10 days worth of just a lot of fun opportunities where people take their natural things that they enjoy doing, whether it's watching movies or baking cookies or playing tennis or having fun family activities and games. And we've included people in the community in that way, and just encourage people to do these activities in a concentrated, intentional way. And we've seen tremendous response. It does my heart good. Now, we are a larger church, but we put it out there and we said, we'd love to see, in our church, hundreds, if not 1,000 volunteers. And the strange thing, Kevin, was we didn't have a hard time getting that. People wanted to do this, but they needed the church's permission and a little bit of encouragement and direction. And then they just connected to that. And we saw this reach over the course of 9 days, thousands of people, and not just in compassion initiatives, which are, really important, loving the needy, the poor in your community, which we do tons of that, but also just relationship building stuff. Because we feel the best community outreach is one that reaches individuals and families in a relational way. There's going to be an existing ongoing relationship after this happens. So you become friends with these neighbors of yours. And people find out, the reason why people continue to do this and also share their faith, because we talk about that a lot, is one reason is because it just makes their lives better. I'm better and I have more joy and more love and more hope in my life when I'm loving my neighbors, when I'm connecting to them, and when I'm loving people in our community, and when I'm able to have the opportunity to share the good news with somebody. And hundreds of people at our church have discovered the joy of it. They don't do it out of a sense of duty. They do it because they love it. They love their neighbors and they love Jesus, and it just overflows. And that's what you want.
Well, that's really true. And I know your heart, because you and I've talked a number of times about this, your heart to see other churches be equipped to do this, to have that sense of how leaders could lead into this in their churches. And I know you're hosting a seminar, a training time, just in several weeks, and some of it live there, but a lot of it now virtual because of COVID-19. Tell us a little bit about that and what it is.
Yeah, last year we launched a national level conference called Good for All, and it was there it's a several day conference where we have national level speakers from all over the country. Last year we had 800 people attend our conference from 26 states. This year, we're having to really limit the number of people because of social distancing, and that's full. But people can get involved in this and learn about. It's 2/3 of it is about community engagement, really loving your neighbors as a church, loving your community, loving the families of your community. And then 1/3 of it is about sharing your faith and really taking the good news to people in a highly relational way. It's relational evangelism, community engagement, and we would love to see hundreds, if not thousands, of people joining us like we had last year. And this year, we're able to expand that through the online platform.
Well, I hope that as you continue to expand the influence there, obviously, of your heart in Valley Church in West Des Moines, through the Good for All Conference and through the interactions that you have with people, that we can see, as our mission statement in the FCA says, we want to glorify God by multiplying transformational churches among all people. And transformational churches are not just new ones. It's not just new church plants. It's existing churches living transformationally in their community. Quentin, thank you for being with us. God bless you as you continue to minister there in West Des Moines and through the Good for All Conference this fall.